Not only the types, but also the instincts play an important role in the dynamics around non-monogamy. So in this video, we'll look at the instincts. All instincts may equally feel their needs are not met, but they also have a different approach to meeting them nonetheless. So the instincts can definitely be at the basis for some motivations for cheating, but equally, or maybe even more important, is how they determine how people may cheat. So let's start with the self-preservation instinct. People with a strong self-preservation instinct are mainly seeking physiological release through orgasm. So in case this need is not met through the partner, they may seek someone else. However, both cheating and consensual non-monogamy require a huge amount of energy and resources. I mean, just think about it. First, you need to find somebody. Then you may need to go through some kind of courting process. You may have to go to a restaurant, but you're not interested in this bonding or emotional connection because you just want to get an orgasm. Then you need to find a location and so on. And in the case of cheating, you need to put a lot of energy into hiding everything from your partner. So at the end, this energy efficiency may be even stronger than the desire for finding an extramarital partner. So masturbating and finding a prostitute or an escort are definitely much easier and straightforward options. The self-preservation instinct is also not likely to accept non-monogamous desires from the partner. The primary relationship is often one of the cornerstones in their life, and without this, the self-preservation dominant person may feel a bit lost or handicapped and out of their comfort. So this can lead to some kind of possessive attitude towards a partner and a cold jealousy. But then again, the self-preservation instinct is also about pragmatism. So self-preservation dominant people can be very pragmatic when it concerns their needs and those of their partner. So they may try to find some kind of agreement. So clearly, self-preservation blind people will not be limited by this energy efficiency, which may possibly reduce the barriers to follow through on their desires. The sexual instinct can seek to feel alive through sex and experience some kind of spiritual merger with a partner. So as they idealize their primary relationship, people with a strong sexual instinct may not be attracted to the idea of sex with somebody else. They want to experience it mainly with their own partner. So when the relationship does not match their expectations, and when they understand their idealization was an illusion, they rather terminate the relationship and move on to somebody else. So as they idealize sex and the sexual relationship, they also most often do not like the idea of one-night stands. And of course, their encounters, the sexual encounters, may end up just being a one-night stand, but this is never their initial intention. They may just have gotten infatuated by somebody and things somehow happened. So on the other side, people with a repressed sexual instinct may have less moral objections to casual sex. If a sexual dominant person somehow ends up in a threesome or group sex, then this person will expect to be at the center of attention. Again, the sexual instinct is by nature quite selfish and not really about relating to the partner. Sexual dominant people are also not very likely to seek a prostitute or an escort because they seek attraction and not some kind of mercantilistic transaction. Still, they may go to a commercial sex worker if this person reminds them of someone they are attracted to but is unavailable. Or they may have the feeling that they will somehow save that sex worker. People with a dominant sexual instinct are very possessive, so their jealousy feels more hot than the jealousy of the self-preservation. they are very unlikely to also approve of a partner's desire to experiment with non-monogamy, and they may have the most intense and passionate reaction if they find out that they've been cheated on. If the partner wants somebody else, it will feel like an attack on their ego. They want to be the only one, they don't want to share. Finally, sexual dominant people may not transgress more or less than anybody else, but it's just going to be more messy. Very often they may be attracted to someone else, transgress boundaries, have a deeply emotional affair, but not kiss, not have sex. They will rationalize this away, but only later they may understand that they were in a deeply intense relation that's not any better than cheating. The social instinct is the most interesting when it comes to non-monogamy. For people with a strong social instinct, managing multiple relationships at the same time most often comes quite naturally. Now, this doesn't mean that these people are more prone to engage in extramarital sex, but it's easier for them to manage it. So the position of the social instinct in the instinctual stack will play a major role in how well a person can handle non-monogamy. As a matter of fact, people with a strong social instinct might find it logical that one can love more than one person. You can love your 2 or 3 children, so why not love more than one partner? The love they feel for one person doesn't take away from the love they can feel for someone else. And in their view, the two can coexist quite happily. As contact with many people is important to them, and sex is one of the best ways to create close contact, they can quite easily pursue the idea of multiple sexual relations. But of course, on the conditions that this does not contradict their values. Sexual interaction is just one form of interaction, one way of communication, exchanging energy, bonding. So they may feel very much like those people from tribal societies that use sex as a glue for society, as a tool for social cohesion. This is, however, on a very deep and subconscious level. Again, our instincts are automatic, we don't reflect on them. Whereas self-preservation and sexual dominant people may have an intense relationship or affair with one person at a time, the social dominant person may be more flirting with several people. They can splinter their needs out, so they are less intense with one person. Interestingly, quite some people who have a strong social instinct may feel the urge or desire to have sex with the person they are in a conversation with, and they feel somehow they're on the same wavelength with. So they feel sex is some kind of a natural continuation of their discussion. Deep inside, they don't consider this a sign that they don't love their spouse or partner. So some may even feel that they want to have sex with their boss, with their secretary, with their colleague, or with a new acquaintance. It feels as if it's a way of getting closer and setting up a more intimate and trusting relationship. But of course, this does not mean they will necessarily act on it. Some social dominant people may be open to consensual non-monogamy because it takes away the pressure of meeting the needs of the partner. They feel that it is important that the partner's needs are met, but they may not always be able to manage in giving it to the partner. So they can easily think that allowing the partner to have an extramarital sexual relationship is something they need to do to stay in the marriage. In more extreme cases, some, but definitely not all, social dominant people may even be obsessed by managing non-monogamous constellations. So it's not about the sexual intercourse, but more about the social relationships and the negotiation and permanent renegotiation of the agreements and rules of engagement. And these people may be open to polyamory or other types of social and hierarchical relationships on the basis of sexual relations. But this sort of lifestyle may not always offer much stability. As we can see with many people who experiment with such lifestyles, so for example in the Bay Area in the US, these constellations permanently change and most often do not offer any real long-term bonding or stability. People who have the social instinct in the middle of their stacking may be able to manage such constellations as well, but they are logically less likely to go into one of these extremes, and they may possibly have a slightly healthier attitude to this matter. They can manage non-monogamy, but they will be less obsessed about the need for polyamory. On the other side of the spectrum, people with a repressed social instinct are very unlikely to be able to manage polyamory or open relationships, which does not mean that social blind people are less likely to cheat. On top of that, social blind people are also very possessive, and this is very different from social dominant people who most often do not feel as if they own the partner and sometimes don't believe too much in sexual exclusivity. The concept of sharing is inherent to the social instinct. Plus, social dominant people have less of a fixation on the primary relationship as a way for survival because they have this kind of inherent confidence that they will somehow find their way in the community. So far, I mainly spoke about consensual non-monogamy of the social instinct, but what about cheating? It's quite common for people with a strong social instinct not to feel they are betraying their love for their primary partner when they cheat. This doesn't mean they think cheating is good or that they didn't do anything wrong. No, it just means that the extramarital affair has no impact on their loving and caring relationship for their spouse. It doesn't mean that something is wrong in the relationship. They still love their partner as much as before, but they do not see sex as an exclusive form of affection to be practiced only with a partner. As a matter of fact, if the extramarital sex is not too great, they may love their partner even more. Of course, here I'm mainly speaking of people in a sexually liberal environment. Because in a society with sexually repressed values, social dominant people may be among the strongest defenders of traditional family traditions. Some other social dominant people may be so focused on meeting the needs of their partner and not at their own needs, that they may feel a certain frustration and entitlement to finally have their own needs met. A transgression may be seen as a solution by them. Another important thing is that people with a strong social instinct have a wide network of contacts. So they also have more opportunities to stray. For many of them, it's easy to quickly find another sex partner if they need to. But for the social blind, on the contrary, finding an extramarital partner may be difficult because they do not have such a network and they may not have the social skills that are needed to find someone. However, all of what I just mentioned does not mean that all people with a strong social instinct automatically look favorably at non-monogamy. Again, they are able to handle multiple relationships, but this does not mean they all have a positive opinion about it. On the contrary, some of the biggest judgments can come from people with a strong social instinct, but with repressed sexual values. So, again, what I was describing about the social instinct is more about the potential, but definitely not about how all social dominant people are. As a matter of fact, some of the most outspoken people against non-monogamy are all too often social dominant.